Okay guys, today we're going to talk about a specific topic I get asked about all the time, and that is how to get landlords to agree to let you Airbnb their property. Okay, so for arbitrage, obviously the basic concept is you're renting the property from a landlord, operating it as a short-term rental, and then you are keeping the profits. So how do you get the landlord to agree to that? There is no trick. There is no pulling the wool over a landlord's eyes, getting them to say yes based on false assumptions. What you need to portray to the landlord is exactly what you plan on doing and how it is actually beneficial to them to rent out to you as opposed to a long-term tenant. Okay, but now we're getting ahead of ourselves. How do you get these landlords in the first place? Where do you find them? First place to start is Zillow.com if you're in America. And if you're elsewhere, any rental site, any rental platform, Property Pal in the UK, Zoopla in the UK is another one. So you find your platform, Zillow, where landlords have registered properties for rent, either through estate agents or private landlords, okay, where the landlord has listed the property themselves and that's who you're going to be contacting. Okay, so you then need to express interest. So a message to say that, hey, I'm interested in your property, potentially renting it. I'd love to discuss further. And then you want to book a call, okay? A, B, C, always be calling. The more calls you make, the more likely it is that you're going to find a landlord who's going to be open to this opportunity. So always be making calls. Okay, so when you do get these calls, now the important part is how you frame this, okay? So framing of your offer, essentially. This is sales, guys, sales 101. You have an offer, you are now framing that offer so that it appeals to the buyer, the investor, whoever it is, the landlord in this case, who's going to rent you their property. So you're setting the frame of your offer, okay? And so the best way I find to do this is to frame it as a mutually beneficial arrangement, essentially, because that's what it is. You are going to pay the rent on the first of every month consistently. You're a company, okay? You're a business. You have funds there. You are agreeing to pay the rent. You're not a tenant who's living paycheck to paycheck every month that they have to rely on to keep their job, to keep paying rent. So that is going to be your offer. You're going to pay rent on time every month. Now, how would they choose you over a long-term tenant? Well, it's very simple. You are going to make sure that the property is in top condition for every new guest that comes in. That means a deep clean after every guest. That house is getting cleaned 2, 3, 4 times a week. Deep cleaned. You're going to keep up to date with the painting. You're going to fix any minor issues that happen. You're not going to call the landlord for a broken light bulb. You're going to get that fixed as quick as possible so that the property is always sitting in immaculate condition. And that way, if the landlord decided to sell and not renew the lease, or whatever happens, you decide to go your separate ways at the end of the term of the lease, the property is going to be in top condition for the landlord getting that back. You're also not going to be hitting the landlord with squatters' rights because you yourself are not occupying the property. So there's nobody to squat. If the landlord and you had some type of issue, some type of disagreement, they could come back into that property. They're not going to deal with months of lost rent due to squatters' rights. You get it? So that's insane offer for the landlord. So they've got the safety of a long-term tenant, which is you. You're also offering them a longer-term lease than what they would usually get. So if they're usually signing a year lease, hey, I'm willing to sign 2 years. I'm willing to sign 3 years. Let's lock this in. Let's do this deal. Okay? So you also make it more attractive to the landlord in that way. Does that make sense? And essentially that's what you're saying on the phone. You don't want to come across like it's a sales pitch, okay? Because that, like I said, it is sales, but you're not pitching them essentially. You're just basically letting them know what you do. And you don't want to hide it behind, buzzwords. You want to be upfront with the landlords. You also don't want to waste your time. If you're going to call 100 landlords to maybe get 2 properties, 2% close rate, that's great. Now you got 2 properties for Airbnb, but you had to call 100 people. Do you really want to, go through a whole spiel with every landlord before you get around to actually just putting in black and white what it is you're going to do. No, right off the bat, hit them with, hey, look, I just want to be upfront about this. This is what I do. I actually rent other properties in the area, operate them as short-term rentals. It's, you know, very successful for myself and the landlords that I rent from. I'd be happy to give testimonials. Does that sound like something you'd be open to? Oh, you know, what is it? Can you explain to me a bit more? Yeah, sure. Basically, we agree that I can sublet the property. I operate as a short-term rental, like a professional business. I get that property cleaned after every single guest before a new guest arrives. We do not allow parties. We vet for professional guests and guests with high ratings that are trusted by the platforms. You know, we put noise detectors in the property. We put ring cameras above the front door to see who's coming in and out. We run a professional operation. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? Yes? Okay, great. You know, if they want more information, they want to see something, just get that together, you know? I'm losing myself now. Okay, so no sales pitch. Be direct. That's essentially what we're saying. Be direct to the landlords. Nobody likes a bullshitter. Nobody likes to be, you know, lied to or buttered up. They like directness. And at the end of the day, what you have to realize is these landlords want to rent out this property. That's why it's listed. They want a tenant. They want that rent in every month. And every month that they don't rent this property, that's a month of lost income. If a landlord has a property for rent for 12 months and they miss a month, say they're renting for $1,000 a month, that's $12K a year. They can now only make $11K in that year because they've missed a month. So they're hemorrhaging money. They need a deal closed, and you're willing to take over that property immediately. You're not waiting to move out of another property. You're not gonna have to wait 2-3 weeks and lose on income. So if you can get this across them in an appealing way and let them know that you're, hey, look, I'm ready to sign now. You know, I'm gonna sign a legal lease. You'll be completely covered. I'm not occupying the property myself. So if anything ever did go wrong, you can rest assured, you can come back in, change the locks, and I'll be out of there. Okay, does that make sense?